A very good morning to all. I would like to give a big thank you to our speakers this morning. We are in the presence of great speakers within the industry that are here to give you inside knowledge on the topic at hand. So thank you for joining us. I would like to thank the events team as well as all of our member companies that have joined this morning, as well as all participants on all our social media. Good morning and welcome to Stitched for Success. My name is Alicia Logan. I head up the membership department at Proudly South African, and I will be your host today. Stitch for Success, why the topic? I think it is a very apt topic because we are currently on our Fashion Police event that you must have seen running for quite some time now. So we thought it would be a nice ensemble to bring Stitched for Success within that time period to make sure that it coincides with our local fashion police. So just to give you a very quick background, the world of fashion, the world of fashion is really bursting with creativity, ambition, and big dreams. But of course, turning ideas into a successful brand is no easy stitch, excuse the pun. So, Stitch for Greatness is where imagination meets real world wisdom. So, we're really looking at the fashion industry and all of its creativity and wisdom, but we're also looking at our industry speakers and the actual brands behind clothing for them to give us the wisdom so that we can equip you, our member companies, and our broader audience for this sector. So, Stitch for Greatness is really where imagination meets real world wisdom, bringing together trailblazing designers and seasoned industry voices to open up about their journeys. So we want to understand their journeys, and this includes their wins, their setbacks, their lessons, and all of these that shaped them. So in order for us to understand what our member companies have gone through and understand what the industry is all about, we have a few speakers this morning, and they are going to take you through their wisdom behind everything that is fashion. So I would like to bring our first speaker to the fore. Our first speaker is from D&G Apparel, who is Greg Wallace. Greg, thank you so much for being with us today. I hand over the floor to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Alicia. I'm very honored to be included in this panel, and I'm very, very for Proudly South Africa and everything made in South Africa. The timing of this webinar is actually quite good insofar as, although I have been mentoring young designers for many, many years, I have a live case at hand as we speak. This young lady has done a basic design course. However, she's working in the timber industry, and she now feels she needs to get back into what her heart tells her to do. So the very first thing that one should realize is you are dealing with players in the industry, and you're dealing with people who know what they're doing and how they're doing it. Let's start at the very beginning. Number one, you have to have a brand. Let's not make the brand name a silly name, like Tilly Come Home or what's your bet for? Make it a sensible name that can become meaningful to people. Number two, you need to have an email address, and not a silly lily slap stilly bun boom, a proper email address and a telephone number, a VAT number, and a company registration number. You need to get all of those things in line. Now, for a designer, that is very daunting. You can get people to help you to do that. But in order to be taken seriously, you need to do that first. Once that is done, you can move on to conceptualizing your brand. So let's say your brand is aimed at the 16 to 24-year-old female market. Identify your consumer. Know everything about them. I always say, take a photo of that consumer and put it on your wallpaper. And every time you open your machines, you look at that person, so you become embedded in that person's lifestyle. Now, in order to start up a brand, of course, you need finance. And I know in most cases, finance is the problem. So what I'm doing with this young lady is we've done all the necessary, we've got all the branding, we've sorted all the documentation out, except for one thing. A lot of people say that you should be patenting your brand. For goodness sake, at this stage, don't go to that expense. Let me tell you why. 2,000 years ago, the ancient Egyptians made sunray pleated miniskirts. Who copied who? I've been copied. I've been in the fashion business since 1970. That's 55 years. And of course, in that time, I've been copied many times. And actually, I take it as a backhanded compliment. If somebody likes my work so much that they're copying me, they better get ready for the next step, because what they're seeing is what I did months ago. So at this stage, I would not waste any money in patenting a design. Once you have worked out who your target market is and what funds are available, you have to put your money where your mouth is. Don't start with a huge range. I always say that a range, every style in the range has to compete for its place in the range. With this young lady, we are starting with 3 T-shirts. We're going to buy the best fabric that we can buy at the most affordable price. We've decided how much money she has to allow her to buy the fabric. We've established a CMT factory that will do small runs because they are small. She's going to run them all in one color so that she doesn't have a stock investment of fabric. She has designed her labels, her wash cares, and her size tags, because remember, it is a DTI instruction that every garment has to have country of origin in the wash care. So you have to have that. Having said all of that, we've designed that, we've got them together, we've sourced the labels, we've sourced the wash cares. Obviously, we've bought the minimums, so there is a slight surcharge. We've made the master pattern, we've tried it on. We now have to grade that pattern from an extra small to a double XL. We've done that. Bear in mind that every one of these steps costs money. So if you want to start your own collection and you have no money whatsoever, not a backer, not a sugar daddy, not a blesser, nobody at all, you need to think very, very carefully. This young lady has saved up 6 months' salary in order for her to be able to start. She is starting small. She's going to use the tool that all other designers are using to sell their goods. She's going to use WhatsApp, Facebook, Instagram, word of mouth. She doesn't want to go to, what would you call them, street corners and fabric place and fairs and things like that, flea markets. She doesn't want to go there. And I think she's correct. She wants to start on a nice platform and she wants to elevate her thoughts and her brand. As she sells her garments, so the money will come into the kitty. And eventually she will build it up so that she's got enough money to move away from T-shirts and move into another product. But it is very, very important that you don't go crazy in the beginning and go into lots and lots of styles. Buy the styles, buy the fabric, and then you sit with it. So fashion is not a safe game. There's a huge element of risk, but there are some items that you can work on quite cleverly, and you can turn them from a thought into money. And once you've got that going, you start building from there. Now, the designer is the problem itself. So often, I work with young designers who have the most outrageous names for their brand, for their email. You phone them, you contact them, they don't take the call. And all of that is a setback. People are under the misinformation that being a designer is coming into a studio in mid-morning, sitting down, having a cigarette, having a cup of coffee, playing with somebody behind the curtains, and then planning to pack up to go home for an early night. It doesn't work like that. Being a designer, whether you're a one-on-one designer or whether you are an industry designer, is blood, sweat, and tears. It's all about time management. It's all about following up. It's all about being awake at all times. You know, in the fashion business, one has to be like the chameleon. You have to be changing all the time. Otherwise, you're going to become like the dodo, extinct. And I think that is one of the things that I pride myself in. I never give up. I follow up all the time. In the industry, people say, here comes Spitfire when they come. I won't take an answer, and a glib answer at that. I want to know where my goods are. When will I get them? Why is it taking so long? And it's a continuous repetition of that, because if you are working in big industry, I don't get out of bed unless I can sell 1,000 of a style in my mass market business. Of course, I also do other things like wedding dresses and matric dances and things where there's one of those. But in the mass market business, time is of the utmost importance. For example, we are busy booking for Valentine's Day now. That is February next year. We know what the orders are. We know what day we've got to deliver the goods. We know what date we've got to deliver the goods. We know what time we've got to deliver the goods. And we know what bay we've got to deliver them to at the distribution center. God help you if you are late. All sorts of penalties come into play. And we don't work for so long on an order to have it cancelled or the price reduced at the last minute because we were sleeping. Most designers have a problem with time management. Time management is critical. And I often say to my students and even my staff, at my home, I have several watches and clocks, and they all set to different times. And I don't know what the right time is until I get into my car and I find that I'm 15 minutes early, so I won't be late. The other big problem with designers is they try to make the most outlandish drawings and turn absolute impossible styles into a reality. Don't be silly, because those are one-off garments that are sold off the catwalk, and nobody in our industry makes money from the catwalk. Your money is made from hard work, from dedication, from continuity. If you go to do business with the chains, and that is a story all on its own, but the first time you show the chain a collection, they'll take notes, they'll take all your details, and you won't hear from them again. Then you'll have your next collection ready, and you'll make an appointment to go and see them, and they'll see you. And they'll make notes, and they'll take details, but you won't get an order. What they want to do is check that you are a continuation of your thought process and your brand, that you're here to stay. And on maybe the third visit, you'll get a trial order. That order will be disappointing. Never mind. Take the order. Make the order. Go through the process. Deliver the order on time. Now, let's say that was a summer order. For continuity, they will now give you a small winter order. Take the order. Deliver the order. Deliver it on time. Make sure the quality's right. And then the game will start. Then they will start calling you to show you next summer and next winter, and then you are on their database. But don't be put off if you show people your collections and you don't hear anything for a while. Remember something. I think that designers are a breed of their own, and I think that they are very special. But in the eyes of the marketplace and the buyers and your customers, you're nothing. So remember that. Don't go into a meeting being aloof and demanding and kicking and fighting. In their books, you are no one until you've proved yourself. And how will you prove yourself? With hard work, with determination, with continual pushing, with delivering the right goods at the right time, at the right price, to the right quality standard. It's tough. It is not easy. If it was easy, everybody would be doing it. So you have got to aim for the heavens. And if you don't quite make it, you'll still be amongst the stars.
Greg, thank you so much for that. I think that was really a lot for our members in terms of they gained the knowledge necessary, especially for the sector. But also, I think it's there is two questions, and I thought let me rewrite those questions because I know what they're trying to say, but they didn't put it through. A lot of people are saying that the South African landscape, and a very good question, especially because we are about localization. So they're saying that the South African landscape is heavy into importing of goods within this sector. So imports, I don't think a lot of people, especially with people like Shein and Temu and all of those companies, I don't think many of our even affordable brand retailers are able to compete at that level. Do you feel like foreign countries are using this type of companies to cause a rift for South African manufacturers?
Okay, so I've been, as I said earlier, I've been in this business for 55 years. And at one stage, every single thing that we did was imported. I am a South African, born in South Africa, and will remain in South Africa. And it is my duty to produce goods in South Africa, for South Africans, with South Africans. Now, the problem is this. We, the buying public, are the problem. And why are we the problem? Because let's say we want a dress, and we want a dress for a wedding, and we go into the retail outlets that we know, and there are lots of dresses there at the price point that we want to pay. Now, in most cases, those garments are made in this country. Made in this country with workmanship. But most of the fabrics in this country are imported. We can't get away from that. But then all of a sudden, we flick into these offshore companies and we see a dress that's a third of the price. And we say, okay, well, if we buy that dress, then we can get a pair of shoes and a bag and a hat to match it. And that's false economy, because when that dress arrives, and I've had a lot of experience with this, specifically with wedding wear. I have a bride coming from London. She's ordered a wedding dress online. She's collecting the wedding dress in the morning that she's flying to South Africa to her family wedding. And she sees the dress when she arrives in South Africa. She tries to try it on, and it doesn't fit. And then the dress doesn't look anything like she bought from the picture. And then she has to start again with a very short notice to get a new dress made. The quality that garment is from offshore generally is not good. And if it's something that you're going to wear often, I can promise you they wear it a couple of times and it gets laundered and it changes shape and the fabric disintegrates and it's just really badly made. And there's no recourse. You can't send the good back to Shein or any one of those people. But the problem is that you're doing local workers out of bread on their table. So why not invest in a good garment, well made, locally, that if there is any recourse, you have recourse to go to, but most times you don't, because I'm a major supplier to the local chains. When we make a garment, we first have to make a prototype garment in the fit that suits their design department. Once that is approved and passed and sealed, we have to send a certificate from the fabric manufacturer, and that has to be passed, and the button manufacturer, and all the other ingredients that go into a garment. And then we have to make a set of the sizes, 32, 34, 36, 38, 40, to check that the grade is correct. So when those garments go into whichever retailer they are destined for, they know that they're going to fit. They know that the quality is right. They know that the fabric is not just going to disintegrate. They know that they, like us, are selling confidence, and they are hoping to get repeat sales. I don't know too many people who have bought garments from offshore, had them emailed or posted to them, have opened them, and are not happy at all. What they are unhappy about is they've wasted their money and their time because they've got to look for another garment. Now, how come can those garments come into this country so much cheaper? All the laws are not followed correctly. There are duties on garments. When a garment comes in, the various categories that it comes in on have to be listed. Let's say I'm making a polycotton fabric overseas at 115 grams per square meter. Now I've got to document it for import purposes. I can bluff the tariff heading. I can bluff the weight. I can bluff the composition and try and get it to come in cheaper. That's one of the ways that we work. Then I personally have been into factories offshore, and I have been appalled at the conditions that the people work under. The lighting is not correct. The toilet facilities are not right. The working conditions are not good. Some garments are even made in prisons so that the price is reduced dramatically. And then the garments are brought in under various guises into this country. But there's no recourse. So I'm based in Durban. If you go down into the center of Durban, there are millions of garments hanging up there. Some of them look too dreadful for words. If you buy one of those garments, you pay cash for it. And there's something wrong, you take it back, and they don't remember you or they never had that garment. You've got no recourse. Whereas if the garment's made locally, made in South Africa, delivered to a reputable chain store or a little boutique, you know that if anything's wrong with it, you can get another garment or you can get your money back. But the most important thing, it's creating work for South Africans. Does that answer your first question?
Yes, Greg, it does. I think we're going to call you to be an ambassador because we love everything you're saying about local. So,
Thank you.
Greg, I'm going to come back to you. I want to bring Vuyo in just because of the timing, but I'm going to come back to you with the other questions.
Sure.
Thank you so much. So, colleagues, I'm going to bring Vuyo in from Retail by Vuyo. Vuyo, I'm going to let you have the floor so that you can take our members and our all that have joined on the call this morning and give them a little bit of your experience and your wisdom in the industry. Thank you, Vuyo.
Cool, thank you so much. I just want to share screen. If you guys can give me a moment, let's see. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah, I can see it clearly. Thank you.
Okay, cool. All right. Cool. Thank you so much for having me. Very insightful about what Greg spoke about, and I think it flows so nicely into what I'm about to talk about. My name is Vuyo, and I've been in the retail industry for over a decade. I've worked for different chains as a buyer, and currently I'm in the e-commerce sector, and I consult with different fashion startups and homeware brands as well, just different brands who are launching products in order to help them launch their product, build their brand, as well as scale their businesses. So I'm really excited to have this opportunity to talk to you guys about the lessons I've learned from the different brands. I do have a platform on TikTok and on Instagram. It's called Retail by Vuyo. I talk about retail insights, and I'm very passionate about the local industry. I'm passionate about Africa as well because fashion is booming in Africa and we have so much opportunity. And I am just about educating people about the business of retail, but also the business of fashion. So I've called this Fashion Startup Lessons Stitched for Greatness because I want everyone here to be great. And I'm leading with trends fade and communities grow. And you'll understand as I proceed through the presentation. So I will just start talking about the fashion landscape, talk about building a core business, which ties so nicely to the point that Greg talked about starting small and starting just with that one focused product item. I'll talk about just starting, building a community, how important authenticity is right now, collaboration, and having a growth mindset. So the first thing is the fashion landscape, and I think this is very relevant, especially for small businesses and what's happening right now in our country. E-commerce is booming. Online is such a great opportunity. For 2024, estimated figures are 96 billion, which is contributing 8% to total retail sales. And by the end of 2025, we're looking at 130 billion. That is a lot of money. The growth is driven by on-demand services, convenience, Checker 60. Online is booming. Deliveries are coming in very quickly. And this growth is also driven by clothing. Clothing is the biggest shop category online. It contributes about 30%, I think, to the sales. And this is a great opportunity for all of us who are sitting in this room today. Then I want to talk about Shein and Temu. And this is something that is disrupting the local industry. And we've seen the reports how it's threatening jobs within our manufacturing and clothing sector. Just Shein and Tim have been in the country for such a short space or amount of time. And they're already contributing 7.3 billion, which represent 40% of online clothing sales. The thing about Shein is the fact that they are reshaping the consumer's mindset, which is not a great thing because consumers feel like they're entitled to low cost fashion and entitled to a wide selection, which makes it a bit hard for the local market to compete with this. And then when it comes to the rise of counterfeits, counterfeits have always been an issue. We've traditionally known this as Kongs, and counterfeits used to impact luxury brands. So goods that a lot of people didn't have accessibility to. But right now, even the smallest brand that has a beautiful collection that's making a statement and people are interested in that brand, those brands are being targeted by counterfeits. So when you are starting a brand, it's something that you need to take note of that you will be copied. So leading into my next point is I really want to talk about the importance of building a core business. At the heart of every successful brand is a clearly defined product strategy. So in terms of building a core business, it's important for you to have a clearly defined product category or defined core product. And I'm going to use an example of Tsepo Denim. When Tsepo Denim started in Johannesburg, he was known as a denim business where he was producing a 5-pocket denim jean that was made locally. That is the product category that he started with. And as the brand has grown, yes, it's started to introduce different product categories, t-shirts, accessories. But the one thing that we know for Tsepo Denim is a local destination where you can get a beautiful pair of denim jeans. By defining your core product, so what Greg said, starting with that t-shirt, it helps you to anchor your brand identity. And it also helps you to find a way to communicate to your customers who your brand is. It just makes it easier and more focused. This will guide you also in terms of how to invest your money. So as you are raising this capital and you're trying to see what type of fabrics am I buying, where am I going? If you have one product category, you know that you are going to the best fabric shop that has the specific fabric for that specific product. You know that you're going to a specific region. Because if you go to China one day to source, China is wide. There is so much in China. But if you are focused, you will know that I'm going to this specific region because I am sourcing denim fabric and I am sourcing denim related trends. It just makes it easier for you to grow your business. By identifying your core will become your bread and butter. So while your business continues to grow, at the end of the day, your core will be what you'll push the most amount of volume. And where you push the volume is where you're going to keep the lights on in your business. It is where you're going to establish the foundation of building a sustainable business because we want to build businesses that grow for a long time. The next that I want to talk about, and it's something that a lot of brands approach me and say, I want to start a business. I want to start this product, but I don't have enough money. I don't have a website. I don't have enough money to open a store. I've already spoken about the opportunity from an online perspective. And the one thing that's exciting in this country is that WhatsApp commerce is growing. A lot of trade is happening on WhatsApp and it is informal. So it's as simple as opening your Instagram or TikTok platform, which are both free, starting to post about that one product item and engaging with the consumer and talking about this product, and then having a number that they click through onto WhatsApp where there's a catalog, they engage with you, they pay via EFT or via e-wallet, and then you deliver the product. All of that is informal. You haven't even built any platforms yet, and you can start small. Start where you are, use what you have, and do what you can with what you have. One of the brands that I'm inspired by who has done this is Rethread. They are on TikTok, they are on Instagram, and the founder is there talking about her different items and the different items that she's launching, talking about the fabrication. They don't have a store. And just recently, they had their first pop up in Johannesburg. Yes, they do have an online store, but they don't have a brick and mortar store. And it has grown so nicely organically between the two Instagram and TikTok channels and has become a big brand within the South African industry. So here, I want to let you know that every fashion brand should know that your brand will be copied. Copying is not the enemy. You cannot be scared of your item or your new product. What if they copy my product? Or what if, someone takes or steals my item? Because the enemy is not the copying, it is the lack of community. Community is so important and something that I speak about with a lot of brands that I work with. As well as if you look at the landscape and brands that are successful, they are successful because they have prioritized building a community. In order to build a community, the number one thing is that you need to be authentic. You need to know who is your brand, understand your mission, understand your value, and you stick to that. You don't sway with the wind. There's so much happening right now that it's so easy to get distracted, and you need to stay with what you believe your brand is. Once again, it's also about genuine storytelling. As a founder, tell the story about your brand. Be transparent. Show them the difficulties you're going through. Show them sourcing fabric. Show them you trying to get people to stock your stuff. Through the story is where you start to build a connection with your customer. And if you are authentic and transparent, your customer starts to trust you. The next is understanding your audience. You need to be obsessed with your customer. You need to understand what your customer value, understand what truly matters to your customer. And by understanding that, you start to understand this is the consumer base that I'm targeting because these people align with my brand's values. The next is to build your tribe. And when I say build a tribe, it's not that you are getting a database of 10,000 people. The one customer, the two people, the three people that you interact with, take their numbers down, take their emails down, create a WhatsApp group where you can show them your product as it launches, converse with them, ask them, what do you think about this? Did you like this? Did you enjoy this? And as you create that conversation, you start to build a loyal base. One thing in e-commerce we focus on is a repeat customer, and repeat customers drive your revenue. Those are the customers who keep coming back to you, and those are the customers that you want. Gen Z is the consumer that everyone wants right now, but also a very important consumer because in the future they will have the disposable income. One thing Gen Z values is being authentic. Gen Z consumers want to connect with others who share their values. They want to find their tribe, and the brands that succeed are the ones that step in and fill that need in an authentic way. One of the brands that I feel has built community really well and in an authentic way is Gal X Boy. The founder is from Pretoria. The brand was started over a decade ago in Pretoria and Hatfield. I remember I was still a student, and this brand catered and spoke to students in Pretoria. And students having such limited disposable income made a plan to get the t-shirts or the items from this brand. As this brand grew, there came a point where it disappeared. But later on, the brand came back. And when the brand returned, it still had that strong community that it had built. And those people within the community had become entrepreneurs for events companies. Some had become DJs and those who were pushing the movements from an Amapiano perspective. And to today, the brand continues to grow, linked with Amapiano and the community that it's built, with so many young people wanting to purchase from this brand. Galax Boy is a company that is targeted by counterfeits, but so many consumers are willing to wait for stock to come back, are willing to make sure they buy product from the actual brand because they feel like they are a part of something. The next brand is Makosa. Makosa fascinates me. In 2018, I went to a show, and a lot of fashion shows don't fully sell out. You have to buy a ticket to go to the fashion show, and a lot of those shows, there's tickets left over for standby people who come in and watch the show for free. But Makosa's show was perhaps 80% sold out. And when I got to that show, everyone was wearing a Makosa garment. I felt so left out, but I was so impressed that this brand has such a following and some people who've saved up for this item that they buy the show tickets and then they come to the show actually wearing the items. And I think today Makosa has seen the strong community that it's built. It's a local community, but also an international community. And they've gone as far as building a culture festival where the community comes together, they wear the clothing, they interact, they see the fashion show, and through that community, it's once again a repeat consumer that continues to support the brand. You guys can start small when it comes to community. It is about the people around you, your local community, how you create events, whether it's 5 to 10 people, and continue to grow as your brand grows. So you create this community and tribe that supports you through your growth as a brand. So the next point that I want to talk about is authenticity and how important it is to be authentic. The first thing is to be transparent, be ethical, talk to your consumers about your products, tell them when you've gone wrong. The next is to stay true to your mission and your value. And the next thing is prioritize quality. As a South African fashion community, quality is where we're going to win because quality, we're in a quality war right now, and quality is currency and it is depreciating. So that is one thing is when you start your brand, start it small, but do not compromise on your quality. And also be transparent in your storytelling. Trends make noise, but authenticity makes impact. The next point is about collaboration. I've seen so much value when brands are small. You collaborate with other brands. You come together to have a market where you can have a pop-up together. You collaborate in terms of sharing insights. Be abundant with your knowledge, and be abundant and be open to receive knowledge from others because that's how you're going to learn and grow. But later on, as your brand grows, you get an opportunity to collaborate with retailers. Art Club and Friends is a fashion brand which started some time ago. And I think it was back in 2016, 2017, where they were still in Woodstock in a little studio. But the studio on weekends would host parties showing different artists and musicians' work, as well as DJs. But it was a local event. So they already were engraved in collaborating with the different communities and people within that specific community. Today, it's a brand that still collaborates, where it's a brand inspired by artists for artists. And they just did a collaboration with Mr. Price, and it was a phenomenal collaboration because Art Clubs and Friends stayed true to their brand story, and collaborating with Mr. Price was able to have a platform to make this brand more accessible. Collaboration brings richness. So, the next topic that I want to talk about is having a growth mindset and being abundant in your thinking, even when you are starting small. A lot of people that I work with or brands, when they're starting with an idea, they say, I'm so scared that it's not going to work. What if we fail? But what people need to think about is think about what if it goes super well? And a lot of the times where failure comes is actually when it's gone so well and the growth is so quick that founders or people who have a fashion designers don't know how to continue this momentum. So the first thing in having a growth mindset is that you need to adapt, evolve, and learn. You need to learn. You need to identify what your craft is. And whatever craft that is, you need to master it and grow it. We are living in a fast changing environment, and you are going to be successful if you are agile and you are susceptible to change, and you can use change as your strength. Success and failure go hand in hand. You need to fail in order to succeed. So when you do fail, use that failure as fuel to grow. Use those lessons as lessons you're going to use to make sure your business is successful. The next is you need to prepare for success. So while you're going out to CMTs and you have small orders, speak about the CMTs. Yes, I'm only placing my first 100 order drop. But if I do happen to just all of a sudden have a massive order, how quick can you turn around? What fabrics can I use? What designs can I put in place or already show you in case this happens? How quick is the turnaround? So in this community or in this time where we have TikTok, you can go viral instant. We're in a global community where someone places an order from South Africa and it lands up in America and an influencer wears this, and all of a sudden you have a whole new market who wants your product. You need to always be thinking big and not small. And you need to understand how you're going to turn momentum into a long-term success. Then the next thing is to have structure and strategy. And I know as creative, structures can sometimes feel very, very limiting. But if you have structure and you're able to input systems and processes, it opens up time. And time is a currency in this industry. It also helps you to be ready when the opportunity comes. Once you've built your strategy, it's also important to define your culture that's tied to your brand mission and your value, because culture is what is going to drive your strategy in your business. And lastly, the one thing that I want to speak about is that there is always space in the market. I told you this year that we anticipate 130 billion from online retail in South Africa. In 2026, it's 160 billion, which is massive. The growth is coming from the different marketplaces that we have, your Take Lots, your Amazons, your macro marketplace. This has given SMEs a chance to list their products so quickly. So do not think that because there's so many products in the market that I do not have a space in the market. You always have a space. It's about your brand, what your brand story is going to be, how are you going to communicate that to your consumer, and understanding who your consumer is. And it's about not compromising your quality and really knowing what your USP is and driving that. And that is my lesson today. I hope you guys have got some awesome insights, and I just only wish you guys the best and know that right now is really the time to start, especially in South Africa, especially in Africa. The world is watching Africa from a fashion perspective, and really, really, there is so much opportunity in the market.
Vuyo, thank you so much for
Thank
that.
you.
That presentation was absolutely awesome. And likewise, I also wish you the best with your journey. I know South Africa is not the easiest of places right now, but I think it is our resilience that is going to get us through. So thank you very much for that. I do believe you have to leave us at 12. So if
Yes.
I have another speaker speaking at that time and I'm not able to say goodbye, let me say goodbye now. But thank you very much for
Thank
your
you.
input and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having
Um,
me.
Thank you. Colleagues, we have our last speaker, Bonang Kao from Relate. I hope I'm saying it right. I know your brand is quite largely popular. I think I also follow you on Instagram. Yeah, well done on growing your market the way you're doing, and for actually coming, to the fore with such an amazing brand. So I'd like to hand over to you, Bonang, to give our listeners a bit of your wisdom on this sector. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Alicia. Thank you to Greg and Rio. Your insights were very, very mind-changing. I think it's very important.
Bonang, I don't know if it's just me, but your mic is not working.
I'm the same. I can't hear.
Yeah, so then it's all of us then, because Greg has confirmed as well. Colleagues, let me call Bonang quickly, just to see what the issue is. I'll come back. Thank you. Greg, while we're waiting for Bonang to come back, can I maybe just ask you that second question quick?
Of course you can.
Yes. So the question was, do you think that we as a country will eventually buy fabric from South Africa?
Okay. So I was fortunate enough to be in the industry when we had a lot of local mills spinning and weaving locally made fabric, and it was of a very high, very good quality standard. However, one of the major retailers in South Africa, I'm talking now probably about the 80s, decided to do major importation of garments from offshore. So when the machinery at the local mills was redundant or need repairing, the local mills were not interested in updating their factories because the uptake of fabric was not there anymore. I believe that if we can set up some more weaving and spinning mills for woven fabrics in this country, we won't need anywhere else. We will be self-sufficient and we will return to how we were 40 years ago when we were spinning and weaving our own woven fabrics, and they were very good.
Wow, that is absolutely amazing. I think that's such a powerful statement to make. So
with
I'm
that
just
in mind, the TI, we could get spinners and weavers. I'm talking about companies, Moy River Textiles, SBH, David Whitehead's. If we could get them back on track, because those people that were running those factories are still around. We can get them back on track and have our own woven fabrics. We'll be a vertical supplier.
Guys, sorry about that.
Does that answer the question?
Yes, it does. I'm going to have to come back to you one more time because the chat box has a few more. But let us hand over to Bonang. Bonang, you're welcome to take us through your presentation. I'll get back to you, Greg.
Guys, sorry about that. I just had a phone glitch, but I managed to fix it right now. Can you
No
hear me?
problem. Yes, you are audible.
Yes, I just wanted to tell you guys a little bit about my story. When we started as students. We were still in high school. So we're just young guys, very curious. I've got a twin brother, so we started the business together. So basically, how we started our business, it was just a group of friends. We were meant to go to an event, and we just thought about, hi guys, why don't we just wear something that we can all have together that can just represent that we are friends. So we started and we printed caps. These caps were just meant for us to wear, nothing really to sell or anything. But from there, what happened is people started asking about it. People started asking, where can we get these caps? So from that demand, we realized we've got a business here, because everybody, like wherever we were going, people were just saying, can I get these caps? Where can we get these caps? So we just printed the caps, we wore them, and then that's how our business started. So fast forward a couple of years, just like any other brand, we grew through trial and error. We used to experiment. For a while, we had caps for like a year or two. We're just pushing caps. I heard earlier on Greg was speaking about keeping your collection or very simple, very simplistic. So when we started, we just pushed with caps. And then when time went by, we started experimenting to doing some vests, doing some t-shirts, doing some shorts. And then from there, we just grew through people's feedback. People would tell us, okay, this is nice, this is good. But obviously, as the brand owner, the brand founder, you have to go with a little bit of your instinct and mix it with people's feedback to build a great brand. So during out the course of the years, we were just focused on selling, redefining our brand. I think the most important thing we realized early is we need to become more corporate, more serious, in a sense that we needed to get a website, we needed to get a phone, we needed to get on social media. So that was some of the tools that we used earlier on, to get our brand out there, especially social media through Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Right now, we're in the era that is so digital that you need to be on social media platforms. If you're not on social media platforms, it will be very hard to reach your consumers, your customers quickly. I'm not saying social media is the only way to get to your customers, but it's one of the fastest way to get to your customers. So I just want to share with you guys some of our milestones. Um, when you own a brand, the most important question that you have to ask yourself is, what makes me different from any other brand that is doing something similar? Because there are thousands of brands that have t-shirts, that have sweaters, that have caps, that are doing the same thing. And if you're going to go that route of just trying to do what everybody else is doing, you don't stand out. And if you don't stand out, you don't reach the people you're supposed to reach. So what we did in 2022, we after sorry, I just fast forwarded my story. I wanted to say that while building the brand, we do a lot of research. We find out in our industry, who do we go to, who do you take advice from? So we met through cedar, and we got some funding through cedar. They managed to buy us equipment, so now we've got our own sewing machines, we've got our embroidery machines, we've got some equipment that helped us to kind of scale our business from just being buying and printing to being able to manufacture ourselves. So in 2022, we went through cedar, we got a little bit of funding, and then from there, as I said, me and my brother started the brand together. From there, we managed to upscale and hire a few people, hire some designers. So we hired some young designers, and then what we did as a young brand, we came up with strategies to make us different. So we created what we call a side bag jacket. Basically, it's a side bag, but you can convert it and it becomes a jacket. So that was the selling product for us. That's what made us different from all our competitors. So we grew from that, and once we kind of wore that and we took it out to the public, the reception was just so overwhelming that people wanted to buy from us. I think within the first month of us launching our side bag jackets, we did about 250,000 in revenue just from that side bag. So from there, we found this is our killer product. This is our niche. This is what we have to focus on, because cars are getting smarter, phones are getting smarter. So it is also time for clothing to get smarter. It has to be able to do more than one thing. So in 2023, we were awarded the most innovative SMME in South Africa by President Ramaphosa and Minister Stella Ndabeni. So throughout this journey, what I want to emphasize to the listeners is you have to you have to spend time learning about your industry. You have to focus on what's coming. Fashion is such a repetitive industry that right now the trends that are happening now are from what people used to do back in the days. So you kind of have to understand where the industry is going, where the industry comes from, and how you fit in the market. We are working. What I love mostly with what Proudly SA has done is they've created a platform that has to uplift local businesses, has to uplift proudly made South African products. So it's important for us to also come back to who we are as South Africans, come back to our heritage, come back to our culture, because right now we are over flooded with products that come from China and come from all these parts of the world that are finished products, and they've got their own unique value proposition. So we need to come back to create products that stand with us South Africans. So yes, as I said, in 2023 we won the most innovative SMME in South Africa. We've won a lot of awards. We are working with ABSA. We are working with so many companies now because of what we did made us stand out. And every time I go to a competition or anything that is hosted within the fashion industry, I know that our products automatically make us stand out. So it makes it easier for us to stand out from our competition because we've invested the time and the effort also in hiring young people who are creative. And if you give people a chance, they will surprise you in terms of what they can do. So I because my phone had issues, I don't want to take too long in terms of the presentation, but I want to say to the listeners out there, it's very important that you establish what makes you different. And what makes you different, if you look at the brand Matosa, their patterns make them different. Their display of how they use their patterns and how they use their garments, that's what makes them different from everybody else. So it's important to find out what makes you different, what makes you niche, and also understand that fashion is a trial and error. From the beginning, you won't know everything. We do make mistakes. I mean, there's nobody who's worked in the fashion industry that hasn't had customers requesting refunds or customers requesting to do an exchange with the garments. So we learn through this, and the feedback is what also makes you a very big brand. So we've invested a lot of time, and we know that with also marketing is very important. So social media, I don't want to say social media is free, but it's all about investing in how to use social media to reach as many people as you can, because right now, we're located in Rustenburg, Northwest, but we send our products everywhere in South Africa. We've sent to Cape Town, all parts of the cities. We're even now sending our products to Botswana and Lesotho because people can see from our social media and then they inbox us directly and we get our products to them. So the most important thing is a person who wants to start a fashion brand or somebody who wants to scale and grow in this business is also use social media to your advantage. Social media is what is here right now. Now we've got things like AI coming in. So it's very important to kind of understand what is happening and how do you become part of it so you don't get left behind. So yeah, guys, we started our brand from nothing. We started with caps, literally less than 300 Rand to start the brand. If I look at the equipment that we have now, we are almost close to 2.5 million in equipment. So the most important thing is start. It's all about trial and error. You won't get things perfect. Business is a copycat world. People are going to copy you. You're going to copy people. But most importantly, just remain innovative. Find out what makes you different and stick to that. Thank you very much.
Bonang, thank you so much for that. I think it provides such good information on how members can get started. I think that was a very brave leap, and you guys are doing exceptionally well. So well done on a job, very well done. I know you're not where you need to be yet because you will keep on growing and expanding the business. So well done and all the best with that. Just two questions, one for yourself and one for Greg. Greg, we stopped where we were talking about the mills, and
Yes.
you said there were some very good mills in South Africa. Do you mind telling us, are they still around? Are they still able to, provide fabric? What is going on there?
Okay, so we're talking about woven mills now. We're talking about Moira Textiles. We're talking about SBH, which is Cape Town, and we talk about Whiteheads, which was in Itongati. They are not around anymore, but I have heard stories that their machinery is still put away in mothballs. And I'm sure that with encouragement from the government, we can call back those people and get those plants going again, because they were really a force in the marketplace.
And I must say to you, I know of all you speaking about, I know David Whitehead.
Yes.
Yeah, because my dad used to do their logistics.
Right.
Yeah, so I know they were absolutely huge, and I cannot think. I think basically the way the retail landscape had worked in the past years worked against them, not for them.
Yes. Well, it was caused basically one major retailer in this country started this whole turmoil in the industry.
Mm,
And had they not have started importing ready-made garments from offshore at the prices that we were ex-factory at, we wouldn't be in the position that we are in today. And I
yeah,
blame them solely for the demise of the local textile business. And I'm
yeah,
talking wovens now, not knits, because there are
no,
still knitting plants around.
yes, absolutely. So I think that is an exceptional idea. I hope you I hope you look into it, because I think
Um,
that is what the South African market needs to properly localize.
yes, absolutely.
Remember, our ports are not doing what they used to be able to do. So
No,
when we went into COVID, people were so scared about clothing and stuff coming from abroad. We should not be in a
correct.
position where we are scared of imports not coming in on time. We should be self-reliant because we have everything here to be self-reliant.
That's how I feel, and I can honestly say that the clothes I'm talking now in my personal capacity, the clothes that I wear are made here with local people, with buttons made by local people, with thread made by local people, with labels made by local people, and I'm thumping local production in all aspects.
Love that. Absolutely. Thank you so much, Greg. That makes so much of sense. And just our last question, Bonang. People are asking that in terms of your clothing, what is how important, okay, let me rewrite that. How important is R&D, research and development, for you? Or is it just a creative process on your side, or is there a level of that R&D that kicks in for your clothing?
Thank you very much, Alicia. For us, we do invest a lot in research in terms of what's the trends now, what are people wearing now, what do people want to wear, so that when we do create, we do add an element of this is what's coming, this is what's trending. I've seen right now the trend that is happening now, the jorts are back. Jorts are those long shorts that
Shorts, yeah.
parents used to wear. So now they are kind of back in trend, and people are wearing them and they're styling them very nicely. So me as a local brand, as a fast fashion brand, I gotta understand that okay, jorts are gonna be here, but it's gonna be only for a specific short period of time. So within that, knowing that, then I sit down with the team, and then it becomes a question of, do we tap into this market? Do we produce jorts? Or do we just then say, no, we're not going to join this trend, we'll just continue with what we're doing? So it's very important for us to do research in terms of what is happening in the market, and then from there it allows us to make the decisions. Some decisions are purely instinct. If you as the designer or the brand owner has this instinct that this is going to work, then you just roll the dice and then you just do that.
Okay. Someone has asked, Bonang, outside of your own brand, what is your favorite fashion brand?
Right now, I'm loving what Makosa is doing. Makosa is doing like the wonders. I actually got to meet with the founder of Makosa at the Proudly SA DSTV event that happened
Yes.
recently. So for me, with them, I'll just basically say Makosa and Galax Boy. I'm just so inspired by their stories. It's very similar to my story, and I'm just inspired by the level of capacity that they've managed to get to right now and the amount of jobs they've created. They've brought back a lot of hope in the local fashion industry to say, yes, especially with Matrosa being able to display at the Paris Fashion Week, it puts South Africa on the map, and I'm just so proud, and I love to see that.
Can I ask this question to both of you, the last, or hopefully the last one? So, what is your opinion on these fashion brands going into affordable stores like Gavin Raja with Pick and Pay and oh well, they don't tell me which fashion brand with TFG. Is it? Oh, I don't know if it's Makosa or who. But they went. They say a large fashion brand has gone into the Fushini Group, and Gavin Raja into Pick and Pay. What are your thoughts on this for high-end fashion designers going into affordable stores? Maybe we talk to Bonang, then Greg. I just want your opinions on it.
Okay, perfect. I think the brand you're referring to with the TFG is Rich Misi.
Oh
For me,
yes,
I'm not. For me, I'm
yes.
very much skeptical about taking my brand and putting it into some of the retailers that exist because, in a way, it does take away the exclusivity of the brand. So I'm still very much on the fence about it, how I feel about it. Personally, right now, it's something that some people have suggested that we do, but personally, right now, I just feel like we can keep it exclusive and then we can just take it from there.
Banang, before you go, where do you sell your brand now in your clothing, if not retail?
Yes, I do sell it. We have our own shop here in Rustenburg, but
Okay.
mostly we run our brand the Amazon way. Everybody is on the website, and then we just ship it to them. So that's how we've been operating for now.
Can
But I
can
think,
I ask?
yeah,
Yeah, can I ask that if you'd consider joining our e-commerce site?
yes, I actually need to because I had the application that I was still busy with. It's something that I did set for this week to be able to join the e-commerce.
Sure. Thank you so much, Banang. Greg, on your side, what's your thoughts on this?
Well, as I said earlier, I've been mentoring students for years and years and years. And apart from finance, one of the biggest problems for students or young designers is access to market. And I have in the past worked with SA Fashion Week and Africa Fashion International and those type of people in getting garments into the multiple retailers. So the problem is two-faced. If they go into the multiple retailers, they do lose exclusivity. However, the retailers will build the volumes. So as a creative person, as a designer, you have to decide, what you want to do. Do you want to massage your ego or do you want to make money? And if you decide to go into the multiple retailers, then it's up to you to be selective as to who you go into. And I have tried with a couple of local retailers to introduce young designers to the retail business. However, they are not geared up for it as yet. And I'm putting this out there. I would love, with all the experience that I've got in dealing with the retailers, I would love somebody to assist me in putting a course together to train people for the requirements of the chain stores. That is the one thing. But the other thing is that, let's say a young designer gets an opportunity to be prominent in a retail outlet and they get an order for 500 garments. Most cases, they can't finance it. If they do finance it, that you have to be, and you're successful, you have to be working on 3 drops at any given time. The drop that's in the store selling, the drop that you're busy making for the store, and the drop that you're preparing to get busy making for the store. And a lot of designers think, oh, I got an order from TFG. I've got 1,000 garments, but they haven't thought about what's coming after that. And also, when they deliver the garments to the major retailers, the payment terms stymie them. Because depending on where you are, yes, of course, you can get a 7-day payment with a discount. Then your profit margin goes. So what a lot of them don't realize is that you deliver the goods and you only going to get paid for those goods depending on your agreement 30, 60, or 90 days later. So that also stymies a lot of the young designers. I'm not sure about this. I sit on the fence on this one, because let's have a look at one of the major retailers who had all their brands, international brands, in their store. They all had little square meterages within the store. A lot of those have gone now. They've moved out of the stores, and some of them have opened their own stores, their own freestanding stores. And I know that is the vision going forward, for brands to have their own stores. So I sit on the fence on this one. But the young designer or the small business who's trying to build their business and build the volumes can never do it on their own in the beginning. The money is too great for them to absorb, unless they get Africa Bank or somebody like that to assist in a big way.
Greg, I also think, and this is just my little opinion, I stand to be corrected. I think the retailer you're talking about, I know exactly who you're talking about, and them giving the square meterage of space to these designers also caused a lot of credit issues in terms of finances, because the ones that are, the brands that open up their standalone stores do not give you credit. So you're not going to go into these stores, the standalones, and then get credit for, like myself, I won't be able to get credit for handbags and shoes and dresses at those stores.
Yes.
But if I go into this large retailer, I'm able to take everything on credit, including those brands. So I think what happens is that there's a financial issue happening, whereby people exhaust their credit, do not pay, and then when they are unable, that store doesn't allow them credit, then they think, let me just go to the standalone store and take those dresses now. So I think it's a bit of a consumer finance issue that has also caused that certain brands move out of those retailers to standalone stores.
I think you're right, but just to touch on the other side of it, which a lot of young designers or small businesses don't realize. If you supply goods, let me rewind the cassette. There is an organization in Johannesburg who know my value in the industry, who at one stage flew me up to Johannesburg, because I'm based in Durban, to examine the young designers' garments in a chain store and to write a report on it. And I did. And sadly, none of those garments that were in the store should have been there in the first place.
Wow.
So if the garments are in the store for 6 or 8 weeks and they don't sell, there's all sorts of things that come into practice. The first one is for them to mark the goods down. Now, no young designer who's got an inflated ego wants their goods marked down. But they're not selling them because the quality is not good. And then the retailer will find a fault with the garments, a quality problem with them, and want to return them. So now, instead of getting paid in 30 or 60 or 90 days, they're going to get the goods back. So the supplier, the designer, has to issue a credit note. So that, of course, then ruins the whole of everything. So that's why I'm saying young designers and small businesses, they need coaching on how to get the goods into the store. So often I go and there are various outlets in my town where young designers have rails and things like that. And I look at the garments and I just think this shouldn't be here. The grading from a small, sometimes an extra large, is smaller than a small. That shouldn't be there, because that garment's not going to sell and it's going to be an RTM, a return to manufacturer. So that's going to upset the whole apple cart. However, the point you make about creditworthiness with the consumer, that's another story, which also affects the purchase of the goods. But you're quite right. The smaller little outlets, they don't give credits.
Yeah.
So if you've got a credit card and you use the credit card and you're up to your limit, you can't use that anyway. But it's all, a lot of it's caused through lack of knowledge of how the garment should be presented in the store.
Absolutely.
And
I think access.
I pride myself in doing store visits once a week. And it could be in Durban, it could be in Empangeni, it could be in Cape Town, it could be in Johannesburg, looking to see what the marketplace offers and has and the price points. And my discussion to a lot of young designers is you don't need to go to Milan or Tokyo or London or Paris to pick up the trends. The trends are in the stores locally. And even for those who travel, there was a stage when I was going overseas 8 times a year. Well and good to know what's selling in Scandinavia or what's selling in wherever you choose in the world. But we're selling goods in South Africa. You need to know what the South African consumer is looking for.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I tell you, Greg and Bonang, the thing is, access to market is only one part of it. Actually being able to get your product on shelf or on rails is absolutely a different part to the access to market. There's so much that goes
100%.
on, and so yes, as proudly South African, our job is to get our members onto shelves in retail, and wholesale, and even B2B. But actual knowledge behind it is where I think some of the companies could actually use this information to be able to constructively get themselves into market, because as I said, it's one thing to gain access to market and another thing not to know what to do with it,
The service is correct. Absolutely.
That's it. Because once you're there, there's a lot of servicing. That's only the beginning. Access to market is only the beginning.
100%.
Yeah. The rest of it is really up to you to
100%.
make sure that product sells off the shelf, whether it be,
I would go so
garment.
far, as to say that when I do my store visits, obviously I want to see what my product looks like in the stores. And if I see that it has been badly displayed, I call the manager. And I say, forgive me, I'm unpacking the shelf and I'm going to repack it as it should be. And all of a sudden, the sales pick up.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
Your job doesn't start with, like a designer says, I've done the picture and I've made the sample. That's my job. It's not. Your job is it's like a baby. You give birth to this baby and you nurture this baby and you grow this baby until it leaves home.
Yes.
Obviously, in real life, when the baby leaves home, you're waiting for it to come back. But with the garments, your job is not done until that garment's sold out of the store.
That's it. No, I absolutely agree. And I think that is such valuable information. Greg and Bonang, thank you so much. You've really given our member companies and all our listeners something to really think about, especially those that say, this is the industry that I've chosen. This is what I want to do with my life. This is a big career move. And I wanted people to know more than just access to market. And that's what you brought to the table today. I wanted them to understand from people like yourselves what it really takes to take a brand to market and to make sure that product not only just sits on the shelf, but leaves the shelf and goes home with the consumer. So thank you very much for that. I think you've done a fantastic job with equipping us with knowledge for the sector and how to get product in and off the shelves. I do thank you for that. I do thank all our listeners for your questions and for actively, asking the right questions in order to equip you for the sector. I also would like to thank our brand or events team for putting this together. If there's any questions that we haven't answered today, I will let Bonang or Greg know, and we'll provide you with an answer. So thank you, everybody. Thank you for your time. We appreciate your time and your wisdom. Thank you and have a lovely day further. Bye-bye.
Thank you and goodbye.
Bye-bye.